Thursday, 26th of June, 2025, and this evening's show. Catch up on all the latest goings on at Blackpool Football Club since the last pod, including very quickly reviewing the last season, assessing the squad as it stands. Fixtures list is out today. We'll be running the rule over that and catching up on all the other stuff that's been emanating out of Bloomfield Road, including all our new top signings. I'm John Asperon. This is Seaside's podcast, extra time show, close season ramble. Good evening, everybody. Remember us? We used to talk bollocks about Blackpool every now and then throughout the season. There has been a big hiatus since the last pod, but we are back to catch up on the close season. Joining us is Judith Chalmers on the top right there. Judith, how's it going?
Guten Tag.
We did take a bit of heat for not doing a pod towards the end of the season. Wasn't for the want of trying, listeners, but there was not an appetite for it amongst the panel and almost. And also, Tim was never here anyway. He's been on about his 15th holiday this year, so glad we could catch you in between holidays, Tim.
Catching me up. Matt's done a few on the cheeky ones.
No, just a little Germany trip, that's all. Nothing planned now till the end of the year, but then it's a big one, so yeah, got summer off now. Concentrate on the football.
That's the none said to the vicar. Nick, welcome. There's a new innovation on the stream this evening. I'm afraid it's going over your head. The show comment.
Mate, that's probably not a bad thing, to be fair. Let's do that. Good evening.
This will be on a trial basis, so no doubt some hilarious person will be putting in risque comments on there, but we'll see how it goes. So evening, thanks for joining us in the chat. MB, Clapsticks, Dennis, Andy, Ray, David, Big Dog, all in here tonight. But as I said in the intro, the guys don't want to talk about it. Obviously, we want to box off last season. We'll do it very quickly. Season summary, call it a review. Obviously, ended 11 points away from promotion, not where we wanted to be. And was it 9th we finished? Something like that, wasn't it?
That's a good question.
I want to say 8. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. There or thereabouts. I don't think any of us were sort of surprised, I guess, really. Disappointed, perhaps, but the season really never, from one stint before, unfortunately, Steve Bruce's family issues, it sort of never really got going. We had a decent run, I guess, after New Year, but we were playing catch-up and never had really enough in the tank to make a concerted effort to get into the playoffs. And when it came to the bigger games, we just sort of fell short, unfortunately, didn't we? So
yeah.
The hope was there. Every now and again, they would rekindle our belief. They even had me concerned that I might miss the playoff final at one point, but it was always too little, too late, wasn't it? I think we were always chasing something that wasn't realistically achievable. But in those pivotal games, we didn't do what we needed to do, did we? You know, whether you're talking Rotherham away or even earlier on the season, Mansfield away. You know, the games that we needed to turn to make sure we got the points, we just didn't, and that was the undoing us at the end of the day, along with an incredible run of draws, which, you know, to turn 4 or 5 of those into victories, which could easily have happened, and it might have been a different story. But once you got to Christmas, it was always going to be. We were talking that promotion, you know, the top 3 form just to get ourselves in the playoffs, which is always going to be a tall order. But it was enjoyable. I actually enjoyed the second half of last season more than I did the second half of the season before, where we probably had a more realistic chance. So I think looking at the positives, you know, Bloxham coming in was a huge positive. The way that Ennis played and the way that Fletcher improved was a positive. And we played games of football that you actually want to go and watch, and you actually and came away, and if we didn't win, thinking, well, you know, we gave that a good go. I really am struggling to remember which game it was, but I remember one of the pivotal games we lost. I still felt, but it was Leighton Orient, wasn't it? With when we absolutely battered them and still managed to lose, having the highest XG that's ever been heard of in League One, where the game wasn't won. But you know, if the endeavour's there and a modicum of skill, that's a big thing for me. And I enjoy, even though we lost that game, I enjoyed it immensely, a lot more than the Critchley ball fest that ends up with a, you know, as nicking 3 points in the last few minutes. So it augured well for this season for me, even before we go on to talk about the positives since the end of the season. I was half looking forward to next season, even at that point, you know, even at the end of the season, which more so than the year before, without a shadow of a doubt.
I've written highs and lows in my podcast notes. Some highs, away form, 10 wins. Steve Bruce's appointment, 4 wins on the bounce, and Ashley Fletcher's second half of the season. Ashley Fletcher reborn. Nick, any particular highs from you?
Yeah, well, I think Bloxham coming in, you know, he really hit the ground running, scored a fantastic goal away at Exeter. Then unfortunately got injured and didn't quite get to the same heights after it. But looking forward to a hopefully big season from him in this coming season. Ennis's loan spell, you know, he was great for us. And the away form, like you say, I mean, 10 away wins. Any other season, you're probably looking at promotion there, because it's normally your home form where you pick up most of your points. But obviously, we had that 5-month run without picking up a win. But like Tim said, there was some entertaining football, and we were in. You know, we never really got hammered in games very often. Even the defeats, they were often quite narrow, you know, by the odd goal. So you could see there was something to build on. And Steve Bruce, you know, we all knew what we needed for next season. Obviously, Steve Bruce did as well, and he's set about doing something about it. We'll come on to talk about the quality of the signing. So I think there was building blocks there, and there's lots of reasons to be optimistic and positive for what's to come.
Matt, just to flick this on its head, lows for the season. There's the number of home draws we had. Neil Critchley not being potted before the season started. Ash Fletcher first half of the season. Grimmy leaving in August, and Kyle Joseph leaving in January, although that wasn't the big hit we thought it'd be. So take your pick from that lot.
Yeah, I think the last time I was on the pod, I said that I wanted us in the summer to be ready for the season, you know, in a way of making good signings and just being on the front foot. And so far, that seems to be the case, whereas last year was typical of however many years we've had before, where we tend to go into seasons a little bit undercooked, a little bit unprepared. The squad doesn't seem right until the very last second of the August window. And then obviously we had the Critchley affair in a couple of weeks after the season started. So, you know, we were even further behind than we normally are anyway at the start of last season. And then, yeah, that were the overall lows, really. It just seemed to be like a bit sort of almost, I don't know, I wouldn't say amateurish, that's probably being a bit too harsh, but just really behind the black ball before you'd even started the season, which isn't the greatest way to start, is it, really? But this year, so far, touch wood and all the rest of it, I think we've got a little bit more optimism about us, and hopefully in the next, we've got a month, haven't we, till the season starts proper. So, you know, there's a lot of time as well to get other pieces of the jigsaw in, and hopefully we can crack on from literally from ball one, where you think of last year and it was it Crawley away, first away game, and it was just dreadful. And hopefully this year is going to be very, very different from that start of the season to this.
Yeah, it certainly set the tone for the season. Okay, so before we move on, Player of the Season awards, the club awards, the supporters player of the season was Ash Fletcher, which raised a few eyebrows, and the player's player was Ollie Casey. So just so around the room, your comments on those awards. And who would you suggest was your player of the year? So let's start with you, Tim. Ash Fletcher, very strange recency bias in full effect.
Yeah, and I think that sums it up really. I think you shouldn't win Player of the Year for half a season, and I think probably for me you've got to look at Casey. I think he was a pillar at the back, and he proved what a good player he was, and why we were always talking about him in the terms that were, and then probably the other player I think deserves, if not honourable mention, is probably the other contender for me is a Fire, who I thought was incredible all season. If I'm going to show a bit of bias, it's going to be towards a player who was one of our players rather than a loanee, but. I would say those two are the two, and when you can talk about Tyra's improvement, and you can talk about Apter, showing us what he can do, and Bloxham coming and showing up. But I think for consistency, I don't think anybody was more consistent than those two.
I think Tim's nailed it there. You've got to look at consistency, haven't you, for player of the season? Quite a few people comments are saying Albie Morgan from Tango MB. Albie was probably mine as well. A cigarette paper between him, Casey, and a Fire, I think. What was your thought?
Yeah, my thoughts are I'm with Tim, really. I think Casey and Ophir or Fire were the two more consistent. I personally would have given it Ophir just because of his ability from coming in as a centre half and then reverting to a right back when we needed one, and then obviously he had the ability to keep Gabriel out of the side for the rest of the season pretty much. And apart from literally one or two games that I can remember where he got caught out, probably just because it's not his natural position, I thought he was excellent, and when he went forward especially, he created several chances for us as well, really. So, yeah, Ophir, as in...
I thought that as well.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Ask his uncle. You can argue with his Ophir brother.
Nicholas, penny for your thoughts before we move on player of the season.
I'll just echo what the guys said, particularly what Tim said. For me, Casey was our most consistent player throughout the season, and a Fire was great as well. Like Matt said, not just defending, going forward, played in a couple of positions. Honourable mention for Albie Morgan as well. But yeah, I think giving it Fletch, it was certainly based on half a season, not the full season. And for the full season, it was Ollie Casey for me all the way.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously there's been news coming out of Bloomfield Road on the transfer front, but the main topic of news came out today was the fixture list. So let's get that onto the screen. And we've finally got a Boxing Day game at home. Superb. First time ever. And if you look down the list, we've got our big games are on Saturday at 3 at the moment. But yeah, your thoughts on that? Let's start with you, Tim. Opening against Stevenage at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have a home game, whoever you're playing, and I think it's also quite nice to have what you might hope would be a winnable home game. I mean, it's always difficult to start the season not knowing what the strength of the opposition is, because you don't know who's who would have thought Wickham would have pushed Birmingham and Wrexham in the way they did last season. So you can't make any assumptions. But I think it's the fact that we're at home's good. I think it's going to be great to turn up. We've got the safe standing rail seating, probably is a better description, that's gone into the north, which is going to be a new feature. We've got, we're going to see improvements to the east. We're going to see other improvements with the tangerine roof. So it's nice to have that home game first, because everybody's always excited first game of the season, aren't they? It seems to get ever earlier. I think it's going to be July next year. It was 2nd of August, this one, aren't we? Which I don't ever remember it being. I remember it being 4th and 5th and 6th, but I don't ever remember it being 2nd. So it comes round ever earlier. And, it's good. It's fantastic. I've got to say, I am more optimistic and God, I was optimistic a couple of years ago once when I thought we were going to get up and we didn't. But I'm probably more optimistic than I have been for quite a long time about what's going on, just on the pitch and off the pitch. And the way we're going about things reminds me a little bit of the way we acted the year that we got into the championship, and sorry, the year before we got into the championship, when we went in really early with some signings, and there was a real feel good factor, albeit it was sort of slightly tempered by COVID. But you had the feeling that we meant business then, and we appear to mean business now. So I'm buzzing for it, and I'm so glad it's just a home game. And I think it's the first Boxing Day game since 2019 when we lost to. Did we lose to Accrington on Boxing Day that year? So it's quite a long time to go without a home fixture on Boxing Day. And whilst it's nice to go away, it's only good if it's a really good game and it's within a couple of hours, because on Boxing Day, really, for me, you don't want to be having too early a start, and so yeah, I'm quite happy with that one as well. Reading away last game as well. Jesus Christ, I'm not driving this if we have to go this time.
I'm definitely not going on the supporters coach as well. Oh, that was a horrendous experience. Don't really want to go in Tim's EV either. We'll be stopping about 5 times.
Do you know that problem that we had, which was when you're using Apple Maps to find your car? I don't want to talk. I'm not going to talk about my oldest, but I was in a town in Germany, and the same bloody thing happened where it was saying the car was one place, and it wasn't. It was miles away. But actually, obviously, I clocked that it was wrong early on this time because of what happened at Reading. So there's definitely I'm going to have to get hold of Apple and tell them to get their act sorted out.
Or just
threaten Tim Cook with litigation. Tim, say from one Tim to another.
My missus was going mental. She's going. It's not. She said it's over here. I tell you, it's not. I said I was talking about us wandering around the Reading industrial parks with going completely the wrong direction.
There was the Swansea debacle as well, but let's not go there. We'll fill up an entire hour of this show with Tim's EV troubles. Nick, over to you. Tasty one, Bolton at home on the 30th. That's Saturday. That's a really good one to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a good start. Like Tim said, it's good to get a home game, first of all. Everyone's buzzing for the start of the season, so home game's great. A couple of long trips in that first month as well, but I suppose it gets them out of the way. And 2 great home games with Huddersfield and Bolton, who, if the bookies are to be believed, will be there or thereabouts. So it should be buzzing, and hopefully we can get off to a great start. The improvements to the ground, get the crowd going, get the North Stand going in the rail seating, and kick on from there. And yeah, good to have home fixture over Christmas. So often we don't, and it's not, like Tim said, you don't mind it if it's sort of a localish one and a bit of a derby or whatever, or a Huddersfield or something like that. But if you've just got a sort of a regulation 3-hour trip on Boxing Day, it's not great. So great to have a home game. That Reading away one's a bit of a killer for the last game of the season, particularly if there's something riding on it. But overall, we've certainly had worse sets of fixtures, so pretty happy with it overall. Yeah,
I mean, just generally speaking, it's a lot more northern division, I think, this season compared to last, and we've got some great games on there. Matt, your thoughts on that? And as Big Dog has just said, we've got Jet 2 again, LA in October. Stockport away, another good one to look forward to, and an opportunity to get our revenge on those stewards as well. That won't be forgotten. I think he's shooing someone away.
There you go. And he's left the door open as well. Right. Oh, amateur. Right. Yeah, sorry. Let's have a look at these. So when I looked at him, we've got Exeter and Plymouth away. I thought, yeah, if you're going to play him, yeah, get him out of the way early. And hopefully when there's decent weather. So if people are making a weekend of it and all that sort of stuff, they've got every opportunity.
Two grounds I've never been to, Exeter and
Well,
Plymouth.
I think it was only 2 years ago. I think Exeter was the first away game of the season, possibly. I think we had a 0-0 all the way down there, which I was, I was privy to enjoy. Stroke not enjoy that particular ball fest.
I actually quite fancy that Exeter away.
So do I.
School holidays as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a decent place to go to, nice city and all the rest of it. Even if, I mean, we stayed overnight, but it is a long way, obviously, and you're still in the school holidays and stuff like that, aren't you? So could be a bit busy on the old M5, but
Wimbledon's new ground as well, Matt. So
it's funny really, because when I looked at these fixtures, two things that stuck out to me. First of all, was that you look at that league really, and you don't fear it at all. You know, last year you had the standout of Birmingham and Wrexham, and one or two others perhaps, and Luton and Cardiff came down, and I don't fear either of those. Both of them are, I don't know, they're just a bit basket case at the moment. And the teams that came up equally, I'm not overly concerned by them. So, you know, I don't know whether Wickham will do the same again. I'm not so sure. Peterborough will probably improve. And Leyton Orient, well, you know, their season was successful because of a very good loan market. So they've got work to do in the transfer market, I would imagine. So, yeah, I don't fear anybody at all looking at the fixtures. Second thing that I noticed was, because I'm going away for a month, so I missed 5 games between November and December. So I'm glad to say, I'm going to Australia for a month. But
wow.
So the only one I'm not concerned about missing, annoyed about missing, was a London trip to Leyton Orient. But other than that, I think we've got every opportunity to really set a marker down, especially with
We've lost him. Where we were going to set a marker down at the beginning of the season.
It'll be there or thereabouts, I'm sure. So I'm optimistic in that regard.
Port Vale away, New Year's Day. That's a good one, actually. Not too far. Could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? We've got them in the Carabao Cup as well, haven't we? In between the first and second fixture, I think. I saw today. So
when was the last time we played them in the league? It's got to be. I think last time I went there.
Oh, it was only 2 years ago. We had that horrible Christmas where we didn't win any games.
That's right. Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Went to Burton. Was it Burton and there and got battered both?
Yeah. Nick, me and you went there. God, me, you and Jim about 25 years ago. It's got to be. I think that was the last time I went, when it was Old Temmerson. So that might be a decent.
We went once and we beat them. Did we beat them 6-1 away? When Paul Stewart's last game, he scored a hat trick.
Yeah, I think we did back-to-back 6. I think we beat Swindon. Was it 6-0 or 6-1?
Was it not Bristol Rovers?
Yeah.
Was it not Bristol Rovers?
I can't remember now. Yeah, but you're right. It's back-to-back games, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and then we sold Paul Stewart to pay the VAT bill, something, didn't we? We had to pay the tax man, so we sold him to City for 200,000.
All overseen by Owen Oyston. Has anyone seen the? Oh, I guess everyone has seen those letters flying around.
Well, apparently it was posted to the. It was posted to the brew house, wasn't it? The Bloomfield brew house. So, like, presumably, I'm surprised he probably did send the other one to the Seafarers bar, didn't he?
The Seafarers chippy and sent hands. Seafarers chippy and sent hands.
But it's an incredible letter. The ramblings of a delusional 90-odd-year-old. I think I don't know what it is. What is it beyond an octogenarian? I can't remember what it is now. But to me, there's too much information in there for it not to be Owen. It's just bonkers, isn't it? It's absolute bonkers.
Would it be funny if Corsalez did drive them over?
You must think if you just sample it, just go on AVFTT and see the thread, because I was chuckling because I thought, Jesus. Apparently, Owen is now convinced about the merits of, if assuming it is the merits of the Bundesliga 50+1 model, and is encouraging Simon to first of all give him the shares that were his, that were Valeri's, that technically came back to Owen when he paid Valeri off before whatever happened. He wants Simon to give those to the fans and then join him on the pitch or something stupid it was, and hand over the whole club.
It's got to be a wind-up, hasn't it? It's got to be.
I'm not, but there's all detail about Bellicon challenging the parish judgment in there and all sorts of stuff. So I'm not sure. I mean, Raggy did run it through AI, didn't he? And they reckon it wasn't AI generated. But who knows? If anybody's had a hand in it, and I suspect it's our Italian stallion, but I genuinely actually think it could well be written from Estepona.
Sean, you need to get Owen on the podcast to explain. Wouldn't that be blockbuster viewing? Get Owen.
Come on, Owen.
Owen, this is an open invite to come on the Seasiders podcast and explain your reasoning behind that letter. Mr. Ragazzino will be more than happy to host you in the Armfield Club, and you can go on a night out with him, just like you offered Raggy. And you can see Tim again with his lovely hair. So
you can stroke it if you want.
Yeah. Send Corselez round with your reply. We're all ears. Okay, so Simon Sadler was mentioned there. Simon is certainly delivering. Close season, stadiums getting up to scratch, and most importantly, the squad is really starting to take shape. We went in early, first signing, Fraser Horsfall on a 4-year contract, 28-year-old Stockport captain. Now, that was a real flag in the sand marker for me for our intentions in the transfer market. I mean, what a signing to get through the door as your first signing of the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those ones where you think, the fans of the club where we've taken him from are going to be gutted. We've got a great player from a rival, really, in terms of they will be hoping to be competing, certainly around the playoffs again next season. And was no doubt probably had the pick of a few teams to go to, and we've managed to get him to come to us. And I think the quote was, we blew other teams out of the water, which isn't something that is often associated with us. So we're obviously pushing the boat out in terms of budget, whether we're using, perhaps the Carl Joseph money from the January transfer, but whatever it is, for your first signing, like you say, John, it's a real marker, a real statement of intent of that we mean business for next season.
Matt, thoughts on Fraser Horsfall? You've obviously got contacts at Fleetwood Town. Is there any opinions on him from those kind of areas? Did you chat about him?
Not about the player himself, but as Nick mentioned, it seems to be that our wage structure has definitely gone on to a different level. Which, when you think back to what Steve Bruce said, I don't know when it was, at the back end of the season, when he said he wanted a sort of like a trimmer squad to work with. So there's probably, a little bit of crunching of numbers that's been done anyway. And if he says, I want a squad of, I don't know, let's say 18 to 20 rather than 25 or whatever we had last year, then, it's going to give us a bit of opportunity, plus the Carl Joseph money, to put more money into certain players. And you think with the 4 got in, none of them, quite frankly, are going to be at the lower end of League One budget. So they're all coming to the club, and they say what they normally say in interviews at the club, that it's great to be here. But we all know money talks, and that's why we've missed out on how many players in the past. And for us to be in this, what seems to be this position now, where we're able to outpay, if that's the right word, other League One teams, it's quite unusual for us. So we'll see where it takes us, and whether the pot's going to run dry very quickly, or whether the pockets are very deep with Mr. Sadler, as we sort of know. We'll see whether we can eke a little bit more out of him and get the squad that obviously Steve Bruce wants. And I think it shows faith in the manager from the chairman that he's willing to put his hand in his pocket and get these players in. I mean, the one for me that was more surprising was Niall Ennis yesterday, because he was on good money at Stoke. He's come down a level, and you don't come down a level without being on fairly decent wages. You're not going to give it up easily. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know how we've managed to pull that off. But fair play to the club for doing it.
Tim, great point from Matt there. We're finally out spending clubs. He must have been on a decent whack, as Matt just said there. And
yeah, there was talk that we were going to sign him in January, and then it changed at the last minute. So I was actually quite confident he would come back. I mean, what I'm hoping we're doing, and those who are on the patrons group, well, I've still got my suspicions that Casey will be on his way, but I can sort of the model that I wanted us to work to was to buy young players and churn them and reinvest. And I think we are seeing some of the Cal Joseph money being spent. And it wouldn't surprise me, if somebody else goes as well. And I don't mind, as long as the money's being reinvested and it's young players who play for us for 1, 2, 3 years, and then we turn a profit on them and do it again and do it again. That's how certain clubs like Brentford, we've spoken about this innumerable times on the podcast, teams like Brentford and in the past Peterborough and other sides have done well. So I would like it to be a sustainable model, and that is sustainable. And but we've definitely pushed up. And again, I repeat myself, but it reminds me of that season when we bought Yatesy in and Keshi Anderson and Hamilton and all the other players we brought in, Pateta. We were really, really busy and decisive in the transfer market. And it seems that we're doing that again. I think Steve Bruce is a massive plus in all that, because and again, anybody who's listened to him will know how knowledgeable he is, and he's going to command a lot of respect with a lot of players. Quite a few of them have spoken about him, haven't they, in the VTs, about how he's been ringing them up and talking to them and encouraging them to come. And that's a big thing. Players want to feel like they're wanted. It is a lot about money, but not completely about money. And that's good. If you've got people who actually want to be here, they're not just here to pick up a paycheck, then I think that can only be a positive for us. And that's what part of is what makes me feel excited, because I think we're actually creating a squad here that's probably the best we've had for quite a long time, and more importantly, it's going to be interesting and exciting to watch. So,
Nick, over to you. Tim's mentioned exciting to watch. I think George Honeyman falls into that category. A real eyebrow raiser when that was confirmed. A top player at the Championship, and for him to come to Blackpool again, it's a real fillip for Simon Sadler to get him over the line and in the squad.
Absolutely. Another sort of marquee signing for me, a player who probably had his pick of clubs again, like the other signings, and again won't have come cheap. And the centre of the park is an area where we certainly needed to strengthen. I think Morgan and Evans at time last season, particularly when the opposition played a 3, we struggled a bit at times, and they both, well, certainly Evans probably needed a rest with a dozen games to go, but you look at the bench and there's not a lot on there, so it gives us an option there. It'll be interesting to see what we do with the formation, whether he's going to stick rigidly to the 4-4-2, or he might tweak it a bit with Honeyman coming in. But he's a player who I expect will play a lot of football for us and will be very influential. Reading the comments from Millwall fans, he puts a hell of a shift in, and I think that's what we missed at time last season, that kind of all-action player. So should certainly have a big part to play in. Like I say, another marquee signing for me, really exciting.
Nick, for him to actually up sticks and presumably move his family the southeast, or most certainly South London, up to Blackpool. We've sold him something, haven't we? Because players of that age who maybe settled, I'm sure he could have found somewhere, where be it Charlton or be it wherever. I'm sure he could have found a team that was in commutable distance of home. But no, he's come here, and I suspect we've broken our wage, the highest wage we pay to attract him. I'm sure that there's something in that. I think, but it's not, can't just be about that, because if you're up in sticks in the way that he's doing at his age, it's he must believe it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, and on that point, we're signing players who know what it takes to get out of this division as well, which I think is important. They've been there and they've done it. So in those games where you're kind of looking around going, when we're under a bit of pressure last season, you're looking for your leaders, and we perhaps didn't always have it. I think we're signing players who can be leaders as well, which can be the difference.
I would just say in the comments, and I'll stand corrected, he has got family in Carlisle, so that there may be something in wanting to be closer to home as well, than to family for whatever reason. Maybe he's getting due to have a kid or something like that and wants family about. So you could commute from Carlisle, couldn't you, if you wanted to, if you were so minded, but most certainly it'd be a hell of a lot closer if that's the case.
I was thinking of something that myself, Sean. I think Honeyman was offered free entry to the Sea Life Centre in the Pleasure Beach, which sealed the deal. Joking aside, I think the product will be a lot better on the pitch than it was last season, given the quality of the signings. Michael, how can I pronounce this guy's name? Ahikaweki.
Let's get this right at the start of the pod so we don't spend a season mispronouncing it. Ihekwe. Yeah, Ihekwe.
Bit of an eyebrow raise, this one. 32-year-old centre-back on a 3-year contract from Sheffield Wednesday. A bit of an unknown quantity personally. Does anyone have any intel or any knowledge about him? No.
Again, I think there's experience there, isn't there? And yeah, you maybe say 3 years, 32. It's one of those where you just hope he stays fit, because I certainly think he's a decent player. And quite often we do a 2+1 anyway, don't we? So it's perhaps not massively surprising. And again, probably won't have come cheap. Stepping down from the Championship, a lot of experience. And you look at probably, we will see what happens with Casey. And on that, I probably agree with Tim. I don't think, if he did go and we got a very good fee for him, I don't think we can really argue when that's the model that when Simon Sadler came in, he talked about. We haven't always followed it, but if we are doing, it's fair enough. You move these players on, you make a decent amount of money, and what you can do with it then is, like we're now probably seeing with the Joseph money, it's not just you're bringing one player in, you can strengthen in 2, 3, even 4 areas that we probably couldn't have done if we hadn't sold him. So, that pairing of Horsfall and Ihekwe, it's going to be those two. Easy for me to say. I think it'll be great, and obviously if Casey stays, happy days as well. Because Pennington's gone yesterday, wasn't it? I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll see. But I think all 4 signings are very good for me.
Yeah, I mean, three out of 4 have come down from the Championship, and 1 just missed out on going into the Championship last year. So these are players of decent caliber, aren't they? So yeah, like I said earlier, we're just not quite used to it yet. So hopefully we'll get a couple of, maybe a bit of youth, will come in now, perhaps, now that we've got the experience, we've got the spine sorted out, minus the goalkeeper, of course. But yeah, we've got good experience with Morgan and Evans and Honeyman. You're not going to get much of a more experienced midfield 3, however they play in League One next year. Equally with the, Ennis and Fletcher, they formed a decent partnership, didn't they, the second half of the year? I don't think there was any better in the League One last year at that particular point. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Casey. I totally agree. I think, if the money's right, and he gets a chance to go to the Championship, it's good business for everybody, isn't it? So we'll see what happens.
I think everyone's a winner there, Matt. I think
Well, you also you can then sell it to other players, can't you? You can say we bought Carl Joseph in, he got moved to Championship. We bought Casey in, he got moved to Championship. You know, and you could be seen as a very attractive proposition from the point of improving somebody for their future career, not just the career at Blackpool, but moving forward. And you know, if there's anything in the KC and Sheffield United bit and the figures they're mentioning between him and Carl Joseph, then you know there's a serious amount of money that can be used, first of all, to subsidise some of these wages, and secondly, hopefully, where appropriate, to maybe purchase a younger player who might be the next one.
Mm.
We've done that with Bloxham. I think Bloxham's one of those. You know, I think Bloxham, if Bloxham can develop consistency, and we have him for 2 or 3 years, and then we flog him for some decent money. That's another great bit of business for us, and a great career progression path for him.
I mean, I was just going to say, John, on Matt mentioned loans. You know, if sometimes with a loan player, it's you've got them just because they're on loan. You probably wouldn't be able to sign them. You know, you wouldn't be able to afford them. They're out of reach. You know, we can pull a couple of really decent loans out of the bag as well. Then it's looking really positive, isn't it? You know, we saw with the Fire last season. If we can, I don't think he'll be coming back. He'll probably go to the Championship. But if you can kind of, you know, find your next couple of decent loan players to supplement the squad as well, then, you know, who knows? We could see a rare automatic rather than a day out at Wembley.
Steady.
I'm getting carried away.
So where I might be preempting your next question here, John, but where are we short at the moment, goalkeeper side?
We're still short for goalkeeper, left winger, another striker, midfielder, so there's still plenty to do.
Quote unquote.
Thanks, Bisons. He's probably not wrong though. You know, certainly we know we need a keeper. Whether that's going to be Tyra coming back, there's rumours, isn't there? And I wouldn't mind if he did. I thought he improved as the season went on. Full backs as well, yeah. It will be. I'm hoping Andy Lyons can hit the ground running and have a really big season and get back to some of that form. Probably that we saw when his best form was probably when we were in the Championship. You know, if he can get that back, that would be brilliant. Another striker, probably, yeah. I mean, we've got Kouassi, haven't we? But I expect he'll probably go back out somewhere, probably before the season starts. So we probably do need another, probably 3 at least, maybe.
Obviously, Sonny Carey, let's touch on that, has left the building. No surprises there, given his quote-unquote injury for the last sort of 4 or 5 games of the season. I think he leaves with our best wishes, but it's just a tad annoying that he's finally developed into the player that we thought he would be, and he's up sticks and left. So I think
I'm a bit nonplussed about it, I'll be honest. I think he, you consider the time that he had with us. It took a long time for him to get to the player that he was for literally the last 3 months of the season. And don't get me wrong, he played really well for us, and he's got himself a move to the Championship with Charlton, hasn't he? But there was, within that season, there was a lot of games where he didn't turn up, didn't seemingly work a lot hard. And I just think that, if Honeyman's his replacement, I know which player I'd rather have. So we'll see where we go with missing him. But
I think, like you say, Matt, it was kind of like towards the end of the season was where the form came. It would have been interesting to see, could he kick on and replicate that next season, or was it I say a flash in the pan? It was a bit more than that, wasn't it? But, was it the Steve Bruce factor, playing with a bit of freedom? It would have been interesting to see. And I can't blame the player because let's be honest, if it was Christmas and someone said to you, would you offer him a contract at that point? Most Blackpool fans will probably go, no, I'd let him go at the end of the season. And that might have been what the club were thinking as well. So if you're the player, if you know, as an individual, if you know you're going to be out of work in 6 months' time, you start looking for another job, don't you? Because you know you're probably going to be moving. So it's one of those things. Then he's hit form, and it will be interesting to see how he does in the Championship as well, because it's that bit tougher, isn't it? Whether he can, go and hit double figures there, it will be interesting to see. But like you say, I think you look at the players we're bringing in. I don't feel like we're going to be weaker because of him going. I don't think. Put it that way.
No.
Are we going to be weaker now? Jake Beasley has buzzed off to Burton. Quite good move for him, primarily for the colours of Burton are similar to that of a bee. But also, eyebrows were raised when he was offered a new contract, but they knew what they were doing, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was probably always going to be, again, I'm sure they have discussions, and talk about what's likely to be happening. And it, we've got probably a nominal fee for him, but it's better than nothing. And it'll be interesting to see how he does there at Burn. It's probably a good move for him, and I think a good move for the club as well, because let's be honest, if we are harbouring ambitions to have a real go at it this next season, he's a great lad and everything, but you probably don't see him starting games for us. He would be probably fourth choice, so maybe the odd cup game. Other than that, he wouldn't be featuring the league. So it will be interesting to see how he does. Although I wonder what Honeyman thinks about it, because you can't have honey without bees.
Oh, two great gags on that.
It was worth tuning in just for that.
He was smiling before he delivered it. He'd been practicing that one.
Listen, I love shit jokes. But yeah, I think it sounds. I'm not. It's no great loss, is it? Let's be honest. He wouldn't have been trouble in the starting 11 in the league. I don't think so. It's best for all concerned.
I think actually Bowyer will get to use
the.
Tune out again.
I know what you're going to say.
Get a buzz out of him.
Is he going to get a tune out of him?
I think he will. I think he'll do quite well for Burton, personally.
Do you know, I was down a YouTube rabbit hole a couple of weeks ago, watching I think it was the season 23-24 goals compilation for the entire season. And Bees has scored quite a lot of good goals throughout his time here. Obviously, you tend to focus on those terrible misses that he has done, but he has scored a lot of well taken, well struck finishes. So as a testament to Jake Beasley, and just to say thanks for the memories, go and watch the highlights reels over the last couple of years. And good luck to him anyway. He seemed like a decent lad, and we wish him all the best. Squad wise, then, where are we? We've covered where we're short. I think the only concern for me is up front. As Bisons has diplomatically put, Beasley and Kouassi both shite. Do we see any place for Kouassi in this revolution?
Probably not. I don't think. I mean, I don't think he particularly, had a brilliant loan spell. But he'd gone there and scored a shed load of goals, come back with a bit of confidence, then you never know, do you? There's been plenty of times where you've thought that's the last time I'm going to see that player in a Blackpool shirt, and they end up, proving you wrong. But again, I think if there's an opportunity to bring another striker in, then we will probably look to do it, whether that's a loan, from a Premier League team, perhaps a young striker or something. That's probably what I would prefer to see, I think. I mean, he might feature pre-season, but, the teams we put out in the first couple of pre-season games will probably look very different than the starting 11 for that first game against Stevenage. So we'll see, but I suspect he might be going back out on loan maybe, or even a permanent.
Nicely segues us on next pre-season. I think we just forgot to talk about that, so we'll cover that very briefly. Squires Gate away against the Blackpool 11, 5th of July, Saturday. AFC Fylde away, Saturday the 12th of July. West Brom at home. It's a decent one. 19th of July, again a Saturday. Salford City away, Tuesday the 22nd of July. And Doncaster Rovers away on Saturday the 26th of July. Not really get the pulses racing. It's not like going to a European tour away, but
Preston, I was speaking to somebody, a Preston fan at Do the other day, the last 2 weekends ago, and they're playing Elche, whatever they're called, aren't they? Which is in Valencia and just down the road from Benidorm. And don't you really wish we got the opportunity to do something like that? You know, where if you want a bit of culture, you could base yourself in Valencia, or if you want the beer and sun and pool and beach, base yourself in Benidorm for a few days. Be fantastic, wouldn't it?
But we've got Doncaster away, Tim. I know what I'd rather have.
That's more. Mitch will agree with you.
That's a funny friendly in itself, isn't it? Because they're in our division, aren't they? And normally, you wouldn't play somebody so close to the season starting in your own division, surely. But I don't know. It's a funny one. But they never really set the world alight. I was going to say they never really set the world alight pre-season friendlies for me, and they're only there to, to put miles in the legs, aren't they, and all that sort of stuff, and get a bit of shape about the team and such like. But it's a shame we don't have a little bit more of a marquee type of friendly. We played Liverpool away in was it that COVID year perhaps, or the year after?
Yeah.
And something like that, or even not necessarily Rangers at home where they can, bring the pyrotechnics in or what have you. But a decent club would be good. And I'm sure there's, with your connections, Tim, I'm a bit disappointed that Bayer Leverkusen aren't in town or somebody.
Schalke.
Yeah,
exactly. Schalke.
Yeah, probably would have done. They need the money more than we do. It would be so nice, wouldn't it, if we just had a trip to, if it's not Spain, just a, I don't know, Belgium.
I mentioned Spain because, of course, the players are going to Spain in 10 days' time, aren't they? I think so. Yeah. It would have. I know they had the sort of behind the doors thing that they let fans into last time, didn't they, against Cadiz at the training ground? But to be honest, it's an excuse anyway. It's an excuse to have a few days away with your mates, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's really what a European pre-season friendly is all about.
Yeah, I do wonder as well. I'm just sort of diversing a little bit here, but pre-season in Spain in the middle of July, it could be like 40 degrees. So you're going to get much out of it. They're going to be knackered, aren't they? And probably not going to be able to actually train as much as they actually wanted to. Whether that's how it works in pre-season, that they really all sort of ease into it, I'm not quite sure these days with all the sports science around. But you I don't know. You just hope that one day in our lifetimes would all be podcasting from Porto or something. I don't know. Quite nice.
I think the budget's being spent on players, so we can we can forgive them having a trip to Doncaster instead of Valencia or whatever. It would be nicer, wouldn't it? But I think it's just about wherever you're playing. It's mainly about fitness and working on your system and getting yourselves ready for that opener.
When you see in Death Valley in Nevada when they cook eggs on the engine, like a fried egg on the engine, maybe Preston have sorted out the friendlies in these 40-degree heat in the middle of summer in Spain. They could emulate that by wrapping up a baked potato in a bit of foil and cook that on the terraces while they're watching a game.
Great idea. I will have to have a word with Tom. I'll mention that to Tom and see if he can put it forward for the club. There's been a bit of a wind-up because actually when you're not really close to that kit, it does look incredibly tangerine, the lettering, doesn't it? So I think there's quite a few of the nobbers are grinding the teeth at the prospect of that kit seeing an outing because they're not happy bunnies. But...
Potato North End. There's a knobber where I work, Liam. I've been milking this for the past sort of 2 to 3 days. It's been fantastic. I liked that one that someone did with the lamb with a spud going through it. That was my particular.
That was quality, wasn't
Oh God, that's quality. Right, stadium developments. There's obviously been a lot going on. Close season that we need to mull over. The East Stand, new boards, new seating, nice little tangerine back bit, so you can't like see out of it. That looks particularly tin pot. New media facilities, new camera platform, the facade, new LED lighting, tannoy, safe standing in the north. It's all systems go, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think when they announced it, there was also the bit about Squires Gate as well, the upgrades that they're making there as well. And I think there's probably a little bit of disappointment perhaps from people that, it's not, the full redevelopment of the stand, and we're moving trading ground, which was two of the things that had been talked about. But actually, when you look at it and the costs involved, both of them seem very sensible things to do, and it still won't be cheap to do it. That East Stand, let's be honest, we don't fill it with home fans. We only really in the Premier League, and even then it wasn't completely full. So it all seems a pretty sensible way of doing things. And as Tim mentioned earlier, the rail seating in the north will look brilliant, and should help to generate an even better atmosphere. So yeah, I wasn't particularly disappointed. My first reaction was, it all looks a pretty reasonable thing to be doing, and it makes sense given, you were looking at doing this 3 years ago, all of that full development, it cost a hell of a lot less than it would doing it now. Anything in construction has gone through the roof, literally, in the sort of past 2 or 3 years. So whether it's, again, I don't know if he's looking longer term, if he's looking to sell the club or not, I don't know. We will see. But I think it like I say, it looks like a sensible way of doing things to me.
Tim, your thoughts? Steps in the right direction and all?
Yeah, Callum's just asked. I don't, with the safe standing, you stand up for the full game, and I think what we've seen in the north over the period since we returned after the boycott is that there's been a huge move towards just standing there anyway. The first season, I think A and B blocks stood, and half of C, and half of C and D and E sat down. But now literally everybody stands up anyway. So what the club have done, quite rightly, is make sure that it's done in a way that's compliant with ground regulation rules, and sort of reinforces that is a standing area, not a sitting area. So you used to get some people tapping people on shoulders saying sit down. Well, if you buy a ticket in the north now, you know that you're buying it to stand up. So so really, really pleased with that. Listen, I mean, I think it's going to help the atmosphere. I don't think it's massively going to change what we do, but hopefully it just reinforces that that's what it is, and that's what the north's about. I like the tangerine detailing on the roof. I just like the fact that there's care and attention. I think they're looking at some provision for those grey walls inside the stadium, just to brighten them up and make it a little bit more personal, for want of a better word. So it's all incredibly positive, and I think what I'm most pleased about is that this has been developed in partnership, not necessarily with fans group, but with getting feedback from fans. And we don't need to go into all the details of how that was done, but the reality was that Simon and others at the club have spent a lot of time over the last 6 to 12 months sitting down with various people and just listening, and it's clear that having done that exercise, it hasn't just been a talking shop. It's actually resulted in things being done. If you look at the season ticket, how long have we been banging on about wanting a payment plan for season tickets and how sensible it would be? And BST last year basically did something just to almost not make the point's the wrong word, but to offer that facility, and it sort of was half successful, but it was BST doing it's never going to be the same as the club doing it. Now we've got a 10-month plan, and I understand that next year there'll be a 12-month plan. So that's what we should be doing. We should be locking people in. Everything's subscription based these days. If you charge people 30 quid or 35 quid a month, whatever the figure is, people aren't going to notice that in the same way as it involves chucking down 400 quid in June or July. And you'll keep people. People don't tend to cancel subscriptions. The whole gym model is based on people not cancelling subscriptions even when they don't go. So from the club, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because you've captured people. Why do people have to sign up again each year? It should just roll and roll and roll, and it'd be more affordable for people, and for me, a better revenue stream for the club. So massive kudos for me for the people. I won't mention names who helped get that over the line, both within the club and within the fan base. But it's all good. It's all good at the moment. We've just got to do it on the pitch now, and not be a disaster. And I think it, because we missed out, didn't we? When we got promoted last time, we all had to sit at home and watch it on TV and talk about it on podcasts. But how good would it have been in that season to be in the ground and see the way that season developed? And we missed that, and I'd love us to go up automatically, and I'd love us to have a fantastic season where we create an incredible atmosphere week in, week out, and we have everybody, all the kids, everybody just waiting for Saturday, waiting for Tuesday night, whatever it might be. That's what I want for this season now, and hopefully we'll get it, because I think we've got the right manager, we've got the right funding, and we seem to be recruiting the right type of player.
Nick, as Tim's mentioned there, season ticket prices, it's on the screen now. Great to see the clubs listened in that regard. We've got the direct debit facility now, which was something we've been asking for years and years. Great that that's been introduced, and it's fantastic that these prices have been reduced. I mean, you look at the prices for under 14s. I mean, I've paid 69 quid for any season ticket.
Yeah.
They have listened.
Absolutely.
They've listened, they've acted, and it's very reasonable prices now.
It is, yeah. And it's like Tim said, you know, they've not just paid lip service to it, they've listened to what the fans have said, and pretty much everything that people have talked about wanting to try and change has happened. So massive credit to the club for doing it, because particularly that age group you talk about, John, that is your fans of the future. You know, you get them hooked, and then they're there for life. So it's absolutely the right thing to do. It'll be interesting to see. I've not seen an update for a while on season ticket sales, but it'll be interesting to see where we do finish up with them, and then we can get off to a good start and just get a few more in the ground, maybe on pay on the day as well, and we can build that momentum and have a really successful season. But yeah, you can't argue. For me, you can't argue with those prices. It can't be just ridiculously cheap when we're looking at paying the sort of wages that we're now paying. So again, I'll use that word. It looks very sensible to me. The right thing to do.
Matt, if you look at those walk-in prices there's nothing over, unless you're going into the sort of the premier area of the West Centre, the West Dinner. If you want to get a ticket on a match day, just walk on. It's 29 quid for an adult, 25 for a senior, under 14 a tenner. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, anything over 20 quid to a lot of people is a lot of money these days, isn't it? For whatever it is that you go and see for, an hour and a half's entertainment in inverted commas. So it just comes down to, for me, it just comes down to how successful the team is. If we win games, if we win 4 out of 4 in August, or 6 out of 6, or however many fixtures we've got, you can guarantee you're going to get a lot more people just turning up because they want to see a team that's successful. So we're just in that part of the world, aren't we, where there's not a lot of spare cash in the area, and at that time of the world where there's not a lot of spare cash going around anyway. So people have got difficult decisions to make at the weekend and how they entertain themselves. And I'm still not necessarily convinced that 29 quid is the right price point particularly, but I echo what the guys have said, that everything else from a season ticket point of view and from a monthly direct debit perspective is definitely helping things. But time will tell on that particular one, I guess. But I think it all comes down to the product on the pitch, to use that expression. And if we're successful, I'm sure it'll put more bums on seats, or feet on the ground or whatever.
Right, just before we go then, I'm sorry, Nick, we are over an hour. I think someone will put a comment on that before. Past your bedtime. The players are in training again. I think first day in training. If you're on the official site, there's some pictures on there. So I've snipped through these pictures. Caption competition. Everyone who's watching this, give me a caption to this picture. It is a physio with a ruler measuring something on it. Is that Ollie Casey? I can't work out who it is.
Looks like Casey, yeah. Measuring his calf muscle, is it? What the fuck's that about?
For the benefit of the audio pod, the physio is measuring Ollie Casey's calf, but it looks like a protractor and a ruler combined. Could anyone wager a guess as to what's going on there?
I can't see it for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I can see the
It's
protractor
horsefall.
bit now.
Yeah, it's
Horsefall, is it? Yeah, it's like he's measuring the angle of his leg or something, isn't it? How weird. That's sports science for you, isn't it? No idea.
I'd love to know what's going on there. Anyway, moving on. Caption 2.
You're on how much?
Lee Evans, who's that he speak to? I thought it was Marv for a minute. Who's that? Who's the black lad?
It must be Nick's favourite pronunciation centre off.
Heckway.
He's saying it's fucking Heckway. You pronounce it Heckway.
I don't know who it is actually. I'm not sure.
Ennis has just signed. That's Kouassi. Bison say it's Kouassi.
Kouassi with haircut.
He's looking trim, isn't he?
Blimey. That's a good one. Big Dog says, I can't believe it's sponsored by Spurs. This is a good one. I thought I'd signed for Barcelona, not Blackpool.
Similar style of football.
And finally, Shane Mitch isn't on for this one. Look at Hayden Coulson's new barnet.
Oh my God, he's gone all Harvey Elliott.
Even better than your hair, that, Tim. What have you got to say about that?
I don't know. I know he does go for this sort of like, the same sort of look. I can't see him because for whatever reason it's not coming up on the screen for me. So I'll have to bounce your better, your observations.
He's got a very, how can we describe this haircut? A wavy mullet. Looks like there's a bit of a mullet going on at the back as well.
I'll have to have a look.
Maybe you should cultivate a wavy mullet, Tim, for your.
Don't get a mullet at the back.
Season. Right, chaps. I think we'll leave it there. Any closing thoughts just before we go?
Other than still, how can I put it? Excited really to see what the rest of the transfer window holds. I guess really we've made a hell of a start, and if we get, I don't know, let's say Tyra in by the end of the week and one or two others that will boost the squad even further, I think we can, even at this early stage, start to get a little bit giddy before August the 2nd, and then it'll all come crashing down on August the 2nd at 5 o'clock, probably, knowing us a lot. But
Nick,
optimistic.
Nick, is HMS Pistol League going to be leaving dry dock anytime within the next week or so?
I think preparations are underway. Yeah, like Matt says, there's still a little bit of work to do. Keeper next, and then perhaps look at a couple of quality loans. But yeah, like I say, based on what we've seen so far, it's there's lots of reasons to be optimistic and positive, definitely.
And Tim, Bison says there's much more to do. In the green room, you did said you've completely switched off from Blackpool. Is this reigniting the passion?
Yeah, I think Bison's is being a bit harsh. I think, you know, at the end of the day, we're not there yet, are we? We're still nearly 6 weeks away from the start of the season. And actually, I'm reasonably confident that we've got a plan to bring some more in. I think the comment made earlier about how important the loan signings will be. Again, we spoke about before. They've got to add value, and if they're going to add value in this team, then they are going to be really, really good players. So I think we may permanently sign at least another 2. I think one will be Tyra. I hope anyway, and I think we may see a striker coming as well. Whether we'll see a return of a former hero, or whether it be somebody completely left field, remains to be seen.
Are you referring to Jerry Yates by chance?
Yeah, apparently there was an inquiry made, a tentative inquiry made, wasn't there? I mean, I don't know whether that would be a loan anyway, but that would be interesting. I know there's a view that you shouldn't look back, but I think someone like Jerry Yates has got the ability to add a lot of value. But it doesn't have to be him. We could look at something completely different. And I'm confident that with Steve Bruce clearly having a lot of say and contacting a lot of players, as he's clearly done with some of the ones he's signed, that I think he'll have 2 or 3 very, very strong options lined up, because I think we do need another striker, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, nice to summarise there, Tim.
And apologies for my audio, everybody. It is a faux pas on my part not to have my laptop lead with me. So I've had to jump on my iPad, and it's not been great.
So Tim basically doesn't have a cable. So I know times are hard, but if you do want to... if everybody just want to join our Patreon, support a programme, that would be appreciated. Patreon.com/SeasidersPod. Chip in a couple of quid to buy Tim a new lead and get rid of his crap audio. But we will sort out the mics. All these guys have got mics. No one's using them. But I will be cracking the whip. There's Max. I'll be cracking the whip next season.
Well, when
and getting the...
you use a platform that supports it for me, I will do, John.
I'm blaming the software.
Right, anyway. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for downloading. Do like and subscribe, not the pool.
Go the pool.
Go the pool.
Been involved in 2. Can he make 3? Not on this occasion. Well taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try!